Section 1 of the National Geographic Magazine, Volume 8, November 1897. This is a Librivox recording. All Librivox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit Librivox.org. Patagonia by J.B. Hatcher. Patagonia, from the Spanish Patagon, a larger clumsy foot, is the name commonly applied to that portion of South America lying between Rio Negro on the north and the Strait of Magellan on the south, and embraced by the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. It thus has an extent from north to south of about 1,000 miles, and a maximum breadth of nearly 500 miles. The name dates from 1520, when Magellan, on his voyage around the world, observing near his winter quarters at San Julian certain large human footsteps, Patagones, gave that name to the country. Although Spanish settlements were founded at San Felipe and at other places in Patagonia as early as 1579, more than 40 years before the landing of the Pilgrims at Plymouth Rock, yet it is still a very sparsely settled and little-known country, especially throughout the interior of the central region. With the exception of the settlements along Rio Negro and the Welsh colonies on the river Chubut, there are no important settlements in the interior, and in the country lying to the south of the latter stream, the entire settlements are confined to a few sheep farms scattered along the eastern coast from Port Desire to Sandy Point, Punta Arenas, in the Strait of Magellan. On the western coast there are a few unimportant settlements at Otway Station and Skearing Water in the extreme south, while on the north most of the settlements are confined to Chiloe and the other larger islands. The western coast of the mainland and most of the interior is inhabited only by roving bands of Indians, which in the former region include closely related tribes of canoe or channel Indians, who live almost entirely in small open boats of native design, constructed with considerable skill from large pieces of bark, either from the Antarctic deciduous beech, Fagus antarctica, or from the evergreen beech, Fagus betuloides, sewn together with sinew or flexible whalebone. The latter is thrown up in considerable quantities along the shores of this coast. At present the Indians are usually clothed with bits of cheap calico fashioned into rude garments, that of the women resembling loose skirts suspended from the shoulders, and usually extending somewhat below the knees, while for the most part the men and women are at present clothed with some sort of cloth, usually obtained by barter from the whites, yet examples are not entirely wanting of individuals still clinging, through choice or necessity, to that more primitive state in which a narrow girth about the loins is deemed sufficient, with sometimes the addition of a piece of sealskin held above by a single thong passing around the neck and over the shoulders, and below by another about the body, so that it may be readily shifted to any desired position according to the direction of the wind. These Indians feed almost exclusively upon shellfish, which they are able to pick up along the shore, while the remains of an occasional seal or sea otter cast up by the waves, or the same animals taken alive with their spears, serve to vary their diet. Perhaps in no other people in the world are the actual necessities of life reduced to so few as among the Channel Islands of this region. With no constant habitation, they move about from one sheltered cove to another, so that their occupation of any particular place is entirely dependent upon, first, the abundance of the mollusk upon which they live, and second, when these are well nigh exhausted, upon the condition of the weather. On a few earthen sods in the bottom of their canoes they keep constantly burning a small fire, which always seems just on the point of going out, and over this they all bend when not engaged in collecting the animals for food, which they usually eat uncooked and without other preliminary preparation. For their shelter on land, notwithstanding the inclement weather that prevails almost continuously, they erect exceedingly inefficient and primitive structures consisting of only a few branches of trees, the lower ends of which are stuck in the ground, and
Sample complete. Ready to continue?